fixture against Leeds where City scored 3, but it was quite unlucky that Haaland ended up getting next to 0 points. And then in game week 14, we saw a big swingy week again. There were a few managers like myself who captained Bruno Fernandes. Others went with Haaland, so they had a really good week. Thankfully for myself, I bought in Foden, so I sort of lucked out, and the Haaland damage wasn't as big. We saw Crystal Palace keeping a clean sheet. Munoz, Gehi, they were records in chief. They did really, really well. Apart from that, we also saw good scores from the Everton defenders. Tarkowski did well when Hecke did well. So it felt like a sort of a fast-forwarded version of the previous week once again. So this week will bring about quite a few interesting dilemmas as well. There are a lot of things that we need to address. Starting with Phil Foden, I think let's discuss the elephant in the room, because Phil Foden currently is the most transferred in player of the week, and a lot of managers are looking to bring him in at the earliest. I feel as if Foden should be a priority for pretty much every team. I know that there are some concerns regarding his starting position in the lineup, especially in the congested period, whether he continues to start for a sustained period of time. I personally feel as if he will continue starting given the form he's in, and because I don't see any direct competitor for his position in the team or in the role that he plays in. So long story short, if you don't have Foden, you should find a way of bringing him in. Now I'll go through each of the players one by one that we have as to the alternatives available. So people have Semenyo, for example. Semenyo's fallen in price already, and he might fall again tonight. Foden has already risen twice, might rise again either tonight or tomorrow. I think Semenyo to Foden is quite an easy transfer if you can afford it in one move. Similarly, a lot of people have Enzo. I think Enzo to Foden is yet again another very good transfer if you can make it for free. Some people have Mbeumo. Now, this is going to be controversial opinion, but I would personally sell Mbeumo for Foden as well if given the option, because Mbeumo is going to be gone to AFCON in a couple of weeks as well. Now, I know United are playing Wolves, and Wolves are an easy team to target, but I just feel as if you can bring that transfer forward and get Foden in for the home fixture this week where he has the potential to go big. But apart from this, I don't think I would be taking hits to buy Foden. So, for example, neither of these transfers is worth a hit, in my personal opinion. I would keep Bruno Fernandes. There are some people considering Fernandes to Foden. I think Fernandes is a good hold. He has too many routes to points. I feel as if his value is a bit underplayed, especially in the congested period, which is going to play 90 minutes. And despite United's form, I feel as if United's poor form and Bruno being a bad asset are not two things which are mutually related. I feel as if Bruno can still continue to get points through DEFCONs, bonus potential, chance creation, penalties, etc. Saka is also another one. Some people are selling, and I feel as if Saka should be kept in the team because Arsenal have a home fixture against Wolves in Game Week 16, which is a potential captaincy fixture for Saka, I believe. And unless you're free hitting in Game Week 16, I don't think I would be looking to sell Saka for Foden. Anyway, coming to your questions, we have quite a few questions already. Thank you, Sen4169, for sending in your questions. Sell Semenyo or Joao Pedro using the one transfer? That's the question. I think it depends on the alternatives available. So, for example, if you can get to a Foden in one move from Semenyo, I would probably do that. But if not, then I would probably just sell Joao Pedro to someone like Thiago. I think Thiago is an excellent buy this week because Brentford, from this point onwards, have a really good run of fixtures. He was benched against Arsenal, but I think it was more to do with tackle reasons, and that is what the manager said as well, that they were playing a different system. But I just believe that they were sort of throwing the game because he rested a few other players as well, and he was probably focusing more on the fixtures to come, which were more winnable than Arsenal away. Coming to AM O'Brien 7790's question. Hey, big man, love the weekly threads. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much for the support. Means a lot. Next question is from D Jota 2014. Reijnders or Enzo, who to bench? That's a tough one. I'm not sure whether Reijnders starts this week. I would probably think that he does, which is why I would play him over Enzo. I feel as if his fixture is better, and if I think he's starting, he's probably worth playing over Enzo. I do think Palmer could start as well, which would mean Enzo is not on penalty. So that would be my take. The next question is also from D Jota 2014. Woltemade or Thiago? Now, I think this is quite a popular question, and a lot of people are considering buying either two this week. So I'll come to the backdrop of this. So this is a week where basically anyone who has free transfers should be using them, because in Game Week 16 we will get 5 free transfers regardless. So if we don't end up using a transfer this week, those transfers will go to waste. So that is why a lot of people are considering selling some of their forwards like Joao Pedro, like Mateta. I have personally sold Mateta in my team because I felt as if his minutes were going down with Nketiah coming back, and with Palace having a very congested fixture schedule. Mateta was just getting subbed around the 70, 75, maybe even earlier than that. And that was just not good enough for me. And I did think that his minutes might improve with Sarr's injury, and that hasn't really happened. So I feel as if Mateta is a sell. And whether that's the Woltemade or Thiago, I think to Thiago, because I don't see a world where I will not be doing Mateta to Thiago next week, personally, given how good Thiago's fixtures are. I think you can potentially keep Mateta if you're playing a 3-4-3, if you own, let's say, Haaland and Thiago as well. But if, let's say, you have someone like a Gio as your third striker and you want to pick a second striker, I think Thiago over Mateta is probably the play. So Mateta is not a hard sell, but if that is the structure you have, whether you have a 3-5-2 and you have Gio on the bench, then I think that Mateta Thiago is a good transfer this week. I would still prioritize Foden, but if you have nothing better to do, then I would probably go Thiago. Woltemade is nice, obviously. Burnley are like terrible. They're bottom for XG conceded this season. So I can see Woltemade doing really well this week, potentially even better than Thiago. But I just don't see him being a transfer in and out, because Newcastle's fixtures after this week aren't as good as they will be for Thiago. So he's also quite more expensive than someone like a Thiago. So I think Woltemade is an excellent pick for people who are on a free hit this week, but not probably worth bringing in and then potentially selling is what I think. Next question is from Alexandroni Kina 8779, Woltemade or Welbeck. I would potentially lean towards Woltemade from the two, because Welbeck, we've seen he was benched against Aston Villa because the manager said before the game in this press conference that he's probably not fit enough to play thrice in 8 days. And in this period of fixture congestion, we're going to have further fixture congestion at the end of the month as well. I don't think Welbeck should be a realistic option. Another question coming in is, with the 5 FTs in Game Week 16, should we all be aiming for a team as strong as a Game Week 16 wildcard and set up for the long run, or do you plan to be more patient with the FTs? I think it's the latter for me. That is why I've done Mateta Thiago, because I want to spend my transfers one by one. I don't want to be in a position where I'm just using them for the sake of using them. That's my strategy, at least, and that's what I've done initially in the first of the season as well. So I wildcarded in Game Week 16 with my team. I rolled till Game Week 10. I had 5 free transfers at that point. I ended up selling Semenyo, getting Minte, selling Joao Pedro for Mateta, and I also got in one other player I'm forgetting who did really well. So my plan is to roll as long as possible, and then when the opportunity presents itself, or whenever there are injuries in the squad, then I go a bit more aggressive with my transfers. That's my strategy personally. Keep sending your questions in. I will keep answering them for the next 20-25 minutes. I was talking a bit more about the forwards. So Mateta, as I said, is not a hard sell, but if you can afford to get Thiago, I think I would probably do that. Next question is from Istimsi. Who is better replacement of Pope? Is Lammens a good pick? United have kept like 1 clean sheet in 15 games, so I'm not sure what makes you think that Lammens is a good pick. I would definitely not go there. I think if you can afford to get the Raya, I would probably lean towards that. If not, I think you can probably even look at Verbruggen. Brighton's fixtures are actually really nice from this point onwards. I own one Hecke and Minte, and the fixtures are one of the reasons why I do. So they have West Ham at home in 15, Sunderland in 17 at home, 19 is West Ham and 20 is Burnley. They have a couple of tough fixtures sandwiched in between, which is Liverpool away and Arsenal away. I'm not even sure whether you can classify Liverpool as being a very tough fixture. But given the price, if you're priced out of Raya, I think that's probably where I'd go. Next question is from Abu Yaqub. What is your rank now? I heard you've been doing well recently. Yes, I've been having a really good time of late. You're right. I've been getting a bit lucky with my transfers and my strategy. I was 7 million in Game Week 4, but then I ended up playing my wildcard in Game Week 6, bench boost in Game Week 7. I free hit in Game Week 13, and currently I'm sitting 51K. Next question is from Danish. Should I buy sales over Bruggen? I think I've answered that. I would prefer over Bruggen. Next question is captaincy locked on Haaland? Yes. I mean, as someone who went Bruno this week, I don't think I will be taking the risk this week, especially with City playing at home. Now, whenever City play at home, it's very rare that I go against Haaland because he's inevitably the bookies' favorite to do well in terms of anytime goal scorer or assisting odds. So I just don't want to go against Haaland with his ownership, with the odds being in his favor. It just feels like a bit of a suicide with the form he's in. I'm waiting for further questions. If you have any further questions, please ask me. I would also like to touch a bit more on the Senesi dilemma that a lot of people are facing. So Senesi got suspended last week, and because Bournemouth's fixtures from this point onwards aren't as good as they were initially, a lot of people have sold. I still think Senesi is a sell because the fixtures aren't great. Who to get for him is the tricky part. I think if you can afford to go to Timber, I think Timber is probably the one. I know he got benched last week and Ben White put in a good performance, but I still think that now that he's had his rest, Timber will continue playing for a while, and I just don't see him getting a rest in the December period at this point. If you already own Timber or if you can't afford to get to Timber, then I think I would probably look at Senesi to O'Reilly because both of them are in a similar price bracket. O'Reilly is clearly first choice. I know he hasn't been good for City at all. He played against Leverkusen, was really poor, and he's going to be off to the AFCON soon anyway. So O'Reilly's minutes look secure. Pep has said that he's a young kid and he's fit enough to play most games if possible. So that's obviously tempting, and the fixtures for City are really nice. So even this week, they have a very healthy 49% chance of keeping clean sheet this week. So I feel as if anyone is selling Senesi, I would probably look at buying either Timber or O'Reilly. Emo O'Brien is saying, I'm 0.2 short of Semenyo to Foden, and I have Munas and Senesi. Do you like Munas or Thiago to fund it? I already have Richardson's Palace cover. I think I would probably go O'Reilly, I think, in that position because both Thiago and O'Reilly are at a similar price. But then again, this is assuming that you're doing it for free because I don't like taking hits at all. I mean, that's one thing that I'm generally very wary of. I think, and I hope it stays this way. I don't want to jinx it. I think it's been almost 1.5 seasons since I've taken a hit. So I'm hoping that trend can continue. I'm generally very risk averse, very patient when it comes to my team and transfers, and that's the way I sort of recommend everyone who follows me to play as well. I would also like to touch a bit on the chips that we have remaining. So if you have, let's say, the free hit left, I feel as if Game Week 16 is probably the window where you can play it. Game Week 16 is a week where Arsenal are playing at home to Wolves. Chelsea are playing at home to Everton. So these two fixtures are obviously the ones to target. You can go triple up on both Arsenal and Chelsea. You can get Palmer in as a cheeky differential. I expect him to play and start very soon. It's also a week more crucially where City are playing Palace away. Now that's a fixture where I expect a low-scoring game basically because Palace's defense is a bit watertight. They've kept a lot of clean sheets. I don't see City going big in that fixture. A lot of us have Harden and Foden, for example. I don't see that being a fixture where they go very big. And this is also a week where Minte plays Liverpool and like Virgil is also playing Brighton. So that's also a fixture which you can potentially end up avoiding. Apart from that, I think coming to the triple captain, a lot of people are considering playing the triple captaincy on Haaland this week. I think I would probably defer it to the Game Week 17 week where Haaland is playing West Ham at home. I feel as if West Ham are still the defense to target. I know they performed relatively well against United, but that was United. City away will just be a different gravy, and I would be shocked if Haaland did not come out of that game with a haul. It's also worth noting that game comes in a week where City also have the EFL Cup fixture, and going by history, I assume that Haaland will probably sit that one out. So Haaland, after a week of rest at home to West Ham side, who are like 19th for XG conceded this season, is an opportunity which is too good to pass up. So if you have the triple captaincy chip left, I think 17 has to be the place where you go. We've already spoken a bit about the Pope replacements. I think that one is sorted. A lot of people have been considering Cunha as well in recent times. And Cunha is another one I want to touch a bit on briefly. Cunha, I think Cunha is probably a don't buy, don't sell. I'm not sure whether he starts the next game as well because he because he was quite poor against West Ham, and Mount actually played well in the previous game against Palace. So I won't be too surprised if Mount comes in for Cunha. I would still expect Cunha to start Wolves, and because the fixture is nice, I would still probably hold on to him. But it's probably not enough for me now to go there. There are quite a few people asking about Palace defense as well. I think Palace defense is probably worth avoiding at this point, not because they're a poor defense, they're good defense, but I feel as if their time has run out with the fixtures that they have. If you look at some of the fixtures that they have coming up, I don't see too many big returns, or in fact too many clean sheets from them. So, for example, in the next few weeks, they have Fulham away this week. Fulham, we saw score 4 against City. Fulham are generally good at home. Then they have City in Game Week 16. Again, I expect City to score. Leeds away. Leeds at home are also nice. They put on a good show against Chelsea. Spurs at home is okay, but Spurs also score in most games. So for the next 4, I feel as if Palace defense is quite avoidable. Guys, keep getting your questions in. I'm still waiting for more of your questions. If you have any, please feel free to share. Coming to my own team this week, I have made 1 transfer. I have sold Mateta. I have got Thiago. I'm captaining Haaland this week. My team, I feel as if, is in a relatively stable position. I do have a benching dilemma actually in my team, where I have to decide between playing 2 of Elliot Anderson and one Hecke and Joachim Anderson from Fulham. So I think I'll probably play Joachim Anderson from Fulham because he's very good for defensive contributions. That, in fact, hit them in 10 out of 14 games this season. So he just has a floor of 4 points in every game, which just feels very, very cozy whenever I'm looking at a defender. When Hecke versus Elliot Anderson is tricky because Elliot Anderson also is like quite comfortably leading all the players in the league for defensive contributions this season. But his attacking threat is a bit limited, and when Hecke at home to West Ham is equally appealing. I currently have one Hecke playing ahead of Elliot Anderson, but I'm not absolutely sure on that one. I feel as if prices in Game Week 16 will be crazy as well, because with 5 free transfers, I see everyone making all sorts of moves. Even this week, they were very volatile. And in fact, I very rarely encourage early transfers, but I went early with my own team and transfers, not only in Game Week 14, but I also have done it early in Game Week 15, where I've gotten Thiago in from Mateta. And I can only see them getting more swingier when everyone has 5 free transfers. Everyone will be like very, very keen to blow them. So keep an eye out on the price changes. It's going to be quite tricky, in fact, because there's also Monday night fixture in the Premier League. There's also Champions League on Tuesday and Wednesday. So holding on to them free transfers will be quite tricky, especially with the swingy price changes that will be occurring. My plan with my own team next week is to potentially do Senesi to Timber if I can. But obviously, a lot of this is injury dependent. And if I have nothing else to do in my team, then I'll go ahead with this plan. Otherwise, it might change. Next question is from Billy Horton on Game Week 16. Do you think Saka is the best captain against Wolves? I mean, Haaland always scores every time against Palace. I don't think a lot of people will be moving away from Haaland, if that's what you're trying to say. A lot of people will be on Haaland, especially with what has happened this week. A lot of people, I don't think, will dare to go against Haaland in the recent fixtures, upcoming fixtures. But I think I would probably go with Saka just because I'm just the kind of guy who trusts the fixture more, and I don't want to change my thought process. So this week I did think that Bruno has the best fixture, and I went ahead with him. I did not think that City will put 5 past Fulham. I just think that was a freakish event. And I say that as a Foden owner, by the way. I do think I got very lucky with the points. I don't see City scoring a lot at Palace either. So just judging by the same process, I will not change my thought process just because of a specific outcome. I will continue sticking to the way I think. And by that logic, I will captain Saka almost inevitably if he stays fit. Next question is from Baljeet, doing Thiago. Whom should I bring in for Foden, Semenyo, or Ndiaye? That's an interesting question. I assume this is for free. If you're doing this for free, it also depends on, let's say, if you sell Semenyo for Foden, what the extra cash allows over doing, let's say, Ndiaye to Foden. Now, Ndiaye obviously has the better fixture, as opposed to Semenyo this week. But Ndiaye will be off to the AFCON and Semenyo will not be going to the AFCON. Now, that's also a difference that you have to take into account. So without seeing your team, this is something that is very difficult to address. I think that Ndiaye has the better fixture this week. But Ndiaye to Foden is a transfer you will very likely make in 16 or 17 anyway. So by probably keeping Semenyo, you can potentially save yourself a transfer. But I don't know how your team looks like. So it's sort of difficult for me to answer. If you can sort of share your team, I can potentially have another look. Guys, last 5 questions. Please keep sending in your questions. If you have any further questions, I will try and answer them as quickly as possible. But overall, things have been going swimmingly well in FPL, and it's in these phases where you tend to just make the most of your luck, and you tend to enjoy a lot, because in FPL, one thing is that the highs are very high and the lows are very low, and mostly the highs are not that common. So while you get the rub of your green going your way, you potentially have to enjoy them. But then again, this is my point. I want to sort of say that if you stick to your thought processes for, let's say, the entirety of the season, at the end of the day, if your thought process is correct, it will reflect in your rank at the end of the season, because that's just the way the game is. The luck will even out. You will notice that at the start of the season, it happens very frequently that some of your rivals overtake you and they have like a very sizable, big lead. But over the course of the season, when you keep playing the way you should be, you eventually end up overtaking them. And it's not because of luck, it's because of the fact that you're making consistently good decisions. Billy is saying, I did Ndiaye and Mateta to Foden and Thiago this game. What do you think about it? I think those two are fantastic transfers if made for free. And they were transfers I think you would be making in Game Week 16 anyway. So bringing them forward right now, especially when Foden has Sunderland at home, and when you can get Foden and Thiago for cheaper, is probably the optimal move. I also want to mention that Thiago's fixture, the Spurs, is also a favorable one. I mean, I don't rate the Spurs defense at all. And if you look at their recent results, or even if you look at their underlying data over the course of the season, they are giving up a lot of chances every game. I mean, Van der Ven was really popular at the start of the season, but obviously he was getting lucky and his scores have dried up. And now no one is talking about him because Spurs defense has reverted to type. So I feel as if Brentford will probably score in that game, and if Thiago ends up getting a lucky penalty, which he almost inevitably does, then you could be in for a good score. Nikesh is saying, who is best Newcastle for long term, Burn, Thiago, Guimaraes, or Woltemade? I think I would probably go with Thiago from the 4 you're mentioning. Obviously, Woltemade has the biggest appeal this week in terms of his upside against Burnley, but long term, I think Thiago is one you would probably want to keep for a while, but Woltemade might be someone you move in and out because of the fixtures, and because I don't think he's going to be optimal between Game Week 15, 16, 17 when the fixtures for Newcastle aren't as strong as they weren't in recent times. Guys, last three minutes, please send in your questions if you still have any. I will try and answer them as quickly as possible. If you have any benching dilemmas, feel free to share or throw them my way as well. I'll be more than happy to help. Next question is Free Hit 15 thoughts for Bruggen, Timber, Thiago, Livramento, Saka, Foden, Bruno Fernandes, Minte, Mbomo, Woltemade, Haaland. Bench Dubravka and Hecke, Heaven. I think it looks really strong. I in fact, wrote an article for RotoWire on the best Free Hit 15 team, and it was quite similar to the one that you sent. So I had Woltemade, I had Haaland, obviously, I had Mbomo, I had Fernandes, I had Foden. I don't think I had Saka, if I'm not mistaken. I had Raya, you have Timbers, that's technically similar. I also had Tarkowski over Livramento. So maybe I think if I was to make a change, maybe in terms of the structure of the team, I had Hall as my Newcastle player because he's on a share of the set pieces. I had Anthony Gordon in midfield. I think he's a very good differential. I had Woltemade. I see you have double Newcastle defense and you have Woltemade instead. But I think I would go with Gordon. I would probably go with double Newcastle attack for the upside and get someone from the Everton defense. I want Tarkowski because he's good for DEFCONs. Next question is from Z Drewski, get rid of Semenyo. I think I've answered that in the stream. I don't think he's a hard sell, but if you can afford to sell him for Foden, I think he's a sell. But I would only do that for free, not for a hit. Start Anderson or Tarkowski. I assume this Anderson is from Nottingham Forest. Even if it's the Fulham one, I think Tarkowski is better than both of them, so I would start Tarkowski over them. Nikkei is saying Mbomo to Saka game week 15. I think Mbomo is better than Saka this week, so I don't think I would make that transfer. But in game week 16, I do think that Saka is the optimal captain of choice. That's why I would probably go with Saka. Last minute, if you have any questions, please feel free to send them my way. But it would actually be nice as a content creator to get a bit of a rest after this week, because game weeks have been coming thick and fast, and it's been very, very demanding and time consuming for someone who has to go back and forth every 2 or 3 days. Right. I don't think we have any further questions, guys. So I wish you all the very best for the next week. We'll see you hopefully next time on the RotoWire Game Week 16 preview stream. And until next Friday, it's goodbye from me, BigManBakar. Good luck, everyone.